Coming up tonight on YCN News, the city charter for Claremont continues to discuss changes in how the city governs itself. A fundraiser Saturday in Claremont's Broad Street Park raises money for 4 local families. And the cause of a fire engulfing a log home in Plainfield remains unknown. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening and welcome to this Monday edition of YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. The road continues to be bumpy as the pros and cons of a proposed new city charter for Claremont is discussed. Friday night was no exception. More people in the audience than last week heard details of changes that, if approved by voters in November, would change how Claremont governs itself. Not all on Friday agree changing from an appointed city manager to an elected mayor from Claremont is a good idea. Nor is everyone in agreement with paying elected aldermen instead of volunteer elected city councilors. There is still another chance for residents and other people to learn more in person about the proposed new charter. Friday night, October 3rd, in City Hall, another informational meeting will be held. The meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. Claremont's charter was last revised in 2003. Before that, it was about 60 years. A fundraiser Saturday in Claremont's Broad Street Park defined the meaning of community. It was a great day to be outside and even greater to help raise money and support for 4 local families. YCN's Lisa Connell tells us more.
From the smell and sounds of food cooking outdoors on a grill, to people rolling down car windows to drop bills into an outstretched motorcycle helmet, many folks got involved. Mostly, it was a visible show of support for the families of 4 Stevens High School teenagers. A horrific crash early one Sunday morning in August claimed the lives of 18-year-old Brittany Bailey and Brandon Rock and John Varnum Jr. Rock and Varnum were 17. One teen survived, 17-year-old Selena Carrier. All of the teens except for Varnum are from Claremont. Varnum from Unity. Jim Fairbanks took a minute from cooking to explain why he came out today.
My youngest son was friends with every one of the ones involved in the accident. He knew everyone. I knew every one of them too. They'd been to my house, and I was pretty close to every one of them. And I'm just here to participate. And if I talk anymore, I'm going to start crying. So it's a wonderful day and it's a sad day, and I'm glad to see the community, Live Free Dire Riders, everybody came out and put a wicked effort for this thing, on behalf of Sweet Fire Barbecue out of Claremont, and we are so glad to be here today.
Meanwhile, many people strolled on the green, relaxing to the music played by a 60s and 70s cover band. The Live Free or Die Riders motorcycle group organized the fundraiser for the benefit of the 4 families. An auction was held. Throughout the day, money was collected to defray any of the families' expenses related to the crash. Bikers took turns at this role. The final total of money raised is not known yet.
If you weren't able to participate in Saturday's fundraiser for the 4 families affected by the Unity crash, you can still do so. Contact Scott Morse at 603-558-2508 and learn how you can help. For YCN News, I'm Lisa Connell.
It's always nice to see people come out to help others in need. And now for some housekeeping details from Sunapee. Town officials remind residents and visitors to Sunapee Harbor this week that infrastructure repairs are underway. This means fewer parking spaces will be available, yet harbor access is still possible. Improvements to sidewalks and drains will be done throughout this week, town officials say. Access to the tourist boats MV Kearsarge and MV Mount Sunapee will be maintained at all times. Access to the boat launch and bathrooms will also be maintained. All other parking areas in the harbor are open to the public. When YCN News returns, we'll learn about a fire yesterday night that engulfed a log home in Plainfield, and the Upper Valley nonprofit Vital Communities receives a $50,000 grant to help towns reduce residents' commuting times.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. The cause of yesterday night's fire of a Plainfield home remains unknown. The first alarm sounded at 7:40 p.m. of a fully engulfed log cabin on Ladue Road. Mutual fire aid came from other local fire companies, as an online emergency report notes. WNTK reports the home, unoccupied at the time, belongs to Boston publisher Melvin Miller. The home is at 261 Ladue Road. It is listed for sale at $1.3 million by Sotheby's International Realty. Earlier, Boston media outlets reported Miller told lenders he would sell the home to pay off debts accrued by his newspaper, the Bay State Banner. The city of Boston lent Miller $200,000 to keep the paper afloat, a paper that serves the city's people of color, the Boston Globe reports. YCN's call to the Plainfield Fire Department was not returned. The town has an all-volunteer fire company. Yes, you can get there from here. So goes a twist on the joke for people trying to get from one point to another, especially in Vermont. The Upper Valley nonprofit Vital Communities will receive a $50,000 grant to help more towns reduce residents' commuting times, especially residents not carpooling or driving alone. The 2-year grant is from the High Meadows Fund. More Vermont towns are encouraged to participate. Vermont communities interested in learning more about Smart Commute Home Edition are invited to an information session next month. The meeting is set for 7 to 8 p.m. October 8th at the Upper Valley Co-op in White River Junction. When YCN News returns, we'll join Kearsarge Chronicle's Elizabeth Durazio, who met with Donna Forrest from Coldwell Banker.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. Now Matt McDonald will have a look at our weather for the next few days and then move on to sports.
Thanks, Rose. Tonight we'll have patchy fog after 10 p.m. with otherwise cloudy skies and lows in the 50s. Winds will be between 5 and 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow morning will be foggy before 10 a.m. Skies will be cloudy with a high of 60 degrees. Tomorrow night will be mostly cloudy with lows in the 50s and calm winds. Wednesday will be partly sunny with winds around 5 miles per hour and highs in the mid-60s. Wednesday night will have a low of 50 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. You can see on our satellite map that we are experiencing cloudy skies. Expect a cloudy couple of days. Now let's see what's coming up on our community calendar. Tomorrow in New Hampshire, the Warner Select Board will meet at 6 p.m. At 7:30 p.m., the Lebanon Opera House will host Los Lobos Disconnected. Remember, you can submit local events from your community by sending them to news@ycnnow.com. It was another festive night for local high school football last Friday night on James T. McLaughlin Field in Woodstock for the rematch of last year's Division III championship game between Woodstock and the Minutemen from Mill River. The visitors got on the board first as Minuteman QB Mike Morgan hits Chris Patch to give Mill River a 6-0 lead in the first quarter. On the ensuing kickoff, speedy sophomore sensation Bill Wood scampers 80 yards to answer back for the host Wasps. Nick Davis's extra point would give Woodstock a 7-6 lead. Later in the third quarter, Woodstock's Will Galt tackles Zach Allen for a loss deep in Mill River's territory. Late in the first quarter, sophomore Daniel Robinson scores from 31 yards out to push the Woodstock lead to 13-6. Off this nice play fake, Morgan hits his big tight end, Dylan Shelby, for an 8-yard strike to cut the lead to 13-12 with just over 2 minutes left in an exciting first half. Early in the fourth quarter, with the exact same play, Morgan once again hits Shelby to put Mill River up for good at 18-13 to give the Minutemen the hard-fought 25-13 victory. Mill River is now on top of the Division III standings at 4-1. 3-2 Woodstock will travel to Winooski on Friday night. Also, there was a boys soccer game in Claremont Saturday night as Stevens took on Fall Mountain. After an exciting game, Stevens High School edged by Fall Mountain in a 4-3 victory.
Thanks, Matt. When YCN News continues, we'll join Capital Connections' John O'Connor, who met with John Cloutier, candidate for New Hampshire State Representative.
The YCN News continues in a moment.